We are live on Lakers Late Night. I am Harrison Fagan, once again filling in for Anthony Irwin, who, as Silver Screen and Roll's resident old man, he can't make it through every show. Every once in a while on a back-to-back, we need to make a decision to rest him, so we're sitting him out tonight for precautionary reasons. So, getting right into it, joining me is Tom Fear. Tom, when I saw that Jayhawks legend Mario Chalmers got traded today, I just know that you were almost too devastated to watch this game. But how are you holding up?
No, I'm not devastated. He doesn't get to be yelled at in Miami anymore. I do wonder how Memphis fans are going to receive him after being the one that destroyed their title, the Memphis University's title hopes in 2008.
Yeah, well, at least he got saved from notorious bullies Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade, so he doesn't have to deal with them on a day-to-day basis anymore. Also joining me is the best thing to happen to the Lakers from Mizzou since Jordan Clarkson, Chinmay Vaidya. How are you doing, Chinmay?
Nice. I am doing great right now. Can't say that for the rest of the Mizzou campus, but I'm doing fine right now. And another Laker loss.
Yeah. Yeah, another Laker loss. We're going to be talking about a lot of those this year, I have a feeling, especially given not necessarily tonight because Miami's decent, but after they lost to New York, you just knew it was going to be a long season. If they can't beat the Knicks, then it's going to be hard for them to beat a lot of teams. But
Yeah, we beat the Nets, though.
Yeah, they barely beat the Nets, so yay. So the big storyline from tonight's game was definitely Kobe sitting out, which was pretty unexpected given all of the comments over the weekend that I want to try and play in all 82 games. He didn't say I want to have my farewell tour, but the implication of it was that he wanted to play in front of all those road arenas for the last time for those paying fans. So he sat out tonight. Tom, how did you think that the Lakers looked without Kobe?
Mostly the same. I mean, maybe a little bit more energetic, a little bit quicker, but I mean, the same problems are still there. They still have no defense, and they have some talented pieces on offense, especially the young guys, but they're a long ways away there too, in my opinion. Mostly the same. It's the same group. It's just there's maybe obviously Kobe has a presence on there, and he wasn't there, but. I didn't strike me as new look Lakers to me. Just seems like the same squad.
Do you agree, Chinmay? I saw a lot of people saying that they thought the ball was moving a lot better. I didn't particularly notice that, but I was curious what you thought.
I think the ball was moving a little bit better between the younger players, especially Russell and Clarkson. But as a whole, I think they were pretty much the same team. You basically have guys like Lou Williams and Nick Young getting more shots instead of the younger guys getting more shots. I mean, you think Kobe's out, the younger guys will get more attempts, but Randall only had 6 shots. Russell only had 6 shots. Clarkson was really the only one who got more shots because Kobe was out. I think Byron Scott relied a little more on Nick Young and Lou Williams, and they took up most of the shots. So maybe between the younger guys, the ball was moving a little better, but overall they're pretty much the same offense.
Yeah, and it didn't look like the defense was particularly improved to me either. I don't know if either of you saw anything encouraging from this. I guess it's not really encouraging moving forward because Kobe is still going to be playing, presumably as soon as tomorrow. But did you think that the defense looked better at all? Tom?
Not really. I mean, it looked okay. I mean, they gave up. I mean, I don't think the Heat are some great offense. I haven't looked at their numbers this year, what they're doing so far, but they gave up 101 points to them on decent efficiency. I don't think they turned the ball over very much. Yeah, only 10 turnovers. No, again, they pretty much just look like the same defensive team. A little bit more speed and maybe 1 or 2 less jumpers that they get wide open in the corner because Kobe sagged off his man per game, but I don't think the absence of Kobe boosts this team's defense particularly too much because there's a lot of bad defensive players on the roster. This is a very bright and happy post-game show.
Yeah, we're all laughing. I was thinking about doing a lap around that. Well, we don't have a studio, but maybe I'll just do a lap around my computer room. Or they didn't win, so I probably shouldn't do that. But so speaking of Kobe, the guy or Kobe's absence, moreover, the guy who replaced him was Meta World Peace, and it looked like to me tonight was the night of the quotable veteran, the quotable quirky veteran role player for the Lakers, because Meta was a perfect 4 for 4 from downtown. He played pretty well. Nick Young was 5 of 5 on his threes before taking that heat check to end the third quarter and then missing a couple. I think he missed a couple more. Was this just hot shooting, or do you guys think that this is something that the Lakers can look towards going forward, Chinmay?
This was definitely a case of hot shooting. They shot 50% from three. I don't think that's going to happen again, especially with the type of shooters that they have, Lou Williams, Nick Young. Those guys are going to keep chucking it, and that inevitably drops the field goal percentage down. Meta World Peace, we know he can hit the three. Going 4 for 4 might be just a case of hot shooting again. I think he's always due for maybe 2 or 3 threes a game, but going 4 for 4 is a little much, I think. Anytime you shoot 50% from behind three-point range, it's got to be a hot shooting night, I think.
He is now shooting 7 of 9 from 3 on the year. So
trending the opposite direction.
Pretty small sample group to say he's going to keep doing that. But
look out, Steph Curry.
Sample size? What's that?
No, I'm a little bit. I mean, I'm not going to jump to any conclusions because I think we saw what Meta was a couple of years ago. I'm losing track. Whatever his last year with the Lakers was, and he was bad. He was bad offensively. He was not good defensively either. So I would predict that over the course of the season, that's going to end up being who he's going to be. But he looks pretty good right now. He's not the player he once was defensively, but the jumper did look pretty good today. But I would imagine he is not going to continue to make 7 out of every 9 3-pointers.
Yeah, probably not.
Never know.
One of the veterans trending in the opposite direction was Lou Williams, who hasn't played particularly well to start this season. After I think a lot of people were pretty happy or at least optimistic about the Lakers picking him up, thought it was a pretty good contract. But tonight he was 3 of 11 overall. He's shooting 18.2% from three-point range on the year. Chinmay, do you think that he's going to bounce back a little bit, or do you think that this is something he just doesn't? Do you think that possibly he doesn't fit well with this current Lakers roster, and that's the reason for his struggles, or what do you think's going on there?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think he's going to bounce back in the fact that he's too good of a shooter to shoot 18% from three-point range. I don't think he has a clear role on this team because he's running with the second unit for most of the game until Byron inexplicably decides to put him in at the end of the fourth quarter where he's kind of like a closer guy. So he doesn't really have
veteran leadership.
He doesn't really have the right roles with this team. I think if he's your, sixth man, in a sixth man on a second unit, you're not really looking for efficiency as much as you are looking for just a decent amount of points that you can get before your starters get back in. Unfortunately, he's not having that on this team. He's asked to go out there, score, then go out in the fourth quarter and win games, and that's not really his style of play.
Yeah. And
how much of that, Tom, do you think that has to do with him being used primarily as a point guard?
A little bit. And I think Chinmay made a good point. It's a little bit let me just say this. When Lou signed with the Lakers, the reaction amongst most of the Lakers blogosphere, that community, was like, cool, Lou Williams is a pretty good player, but the fit didn't really seem to be there on the roster. I mean, who are the 2 perimeter players that we know are going to be there going forward, or D'Angelo Russell, Jordan Clarkson, both of which handle the ball, both of which sort of combo guards. So you add another one like that into the mix, and I never really saw what his role was really going to be on this team. And I don't think he's really getting a great chance to develop a lot of synergy with a lot of the people that he's playing with, partially because the Lakers don't have much to play with, but partially because of what Chinmay said. He's coming into the second unit for most of the game, and then at the end he's sticking in with the starters, and that lineup just doesn't really seem like one that complements each other very well.
I just thought that with the thing that you mentioned about Clarkson and Russell both being combo guards, I thought that Lou Williams' ability to kind of their ability to be interchangeable at either guard spot, he would be able to play alongside either of them. And with his pretty good three-point shooter, he hasn't shown it this year, but he's been a pretty good three-point shooter throughout his career, especially from the corners. I think the hope was that he could space the floor a little bit and then also work as a secondary ball handler. But he's been the primary ball handler, and I think that that's been a big part of the problem. So Lou was he was a -1 tonight in plus-minus, and normally I don't think that this is the greatest stat, but I think tonight it's pretty illustrative. He and Brandon Bass were the only two bench players that were negatives in plus-minus, which Brandon Bass is also
that's a shocker that Brandon Bass was a negative.
Yeah, he has not panned out very well thus far. But the rest of the bench were all pluses, and all of the starters were well into the minus, at either around 20, like -20. So, do you guys think that a lot of that's statistical noise? Do you think it's a big part of? I thought maybe a big part of it would be that the Heat's bench is a pretty big drop off from the quality of its starters, or do you think that the second unit was playing particularly well, Chinmay?
Probably a little bit of both, more on the first point that the Heat starters are just so much better than their bench. I mean, you have Whiteside, Bosch, and Wade, guys who are going to score. You have Goran Dragic, who's going to score. The Lakers really, on the starting unit, didn't have a single advantage by position. You could argue that the Heat had the advantage at every single spot, 1 through 5. And on the bench, it's really just a wash. Whoever gets hot, that's the bench that's going to have the advantage in the game, and the Lakers' bench did get hot. So I think the bench getting hot is just a wash on whose second unit played better. It was the starters that dominated the game for Miami.
Yeah, I mean, this is not some breaking news science here, but if you have a whole bunch of to mediocre players playing against a team that has some really good players and then a whole bunch of the group that's going to be playing against the group is going to put up a lot better numbers. Is going to do a lot more. So I think it was more just the drop off of the Heat going from Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and Hassan Whiteside to their bench, which has Justice Winslow and what was his name, Tyler Johnson, and Josh McRoberts, and Udonis Haslem, and Josh Richardson. I will never remember Tyler Johnson's name. I always forget him.
He has a pretty generic name. He's like a create player in 2K.
He is. No, not even you don't even create the player. He's one of the randomly generated ones.
That's what I meant.
the one that wears number 78 for no reason.
Yeah.
Okay, so other thing I wanted to hit was the young guys. It didn't look like most of them, but we touched on this briefly at the beginning, but I want to really get into it. The young guys, none of them seemed to play particularly well tonight. And D'Angelo Russell just really didn't get minutes. He only played 21 minutes. Tom, what do you think? What do you think about that?
I think that
I'm teeing it up for you, man. I know you have some opinion on this.
I don't want to just beat the dead horse because I've just bashed Byron over and over again on the show. But yeah, no, it's stupid. I mean, he needs to be playing. He needs to be playing a lot. Look at other, top 10 rookies around the league and look at their minutes totals. They're getting consistent minutes. They're getting put in at the end of games. They're getting the experience that they need, even if you might, if you want to make an argument that Lou Williams is such a huge upgrade over D'Angelo Russell at the moment, fine. I don't care, but fine. But it doesn't matter. He still needs to be in there at the end of games. He needs to be getting consistent minutes. I would play him 30 minutes a game. I would let him get the experience, and you can go from there. You can mold him into the player that you want him to be based on what you see in those games and make the changes that you need. But it just doesn't even seem like Byron has even any rhyme or reason for his justification in these decisions, and I don't think he knows what he's doing.
What do you think, Chinmay?
I think it's, again, I mentioned this last time I was on the show. You kind of have to be careful with Russell because he's a very young player, 19 years old, point guard, pretty overwhelming position. You have a lot to worry about in the NBA. And I get that you don't want to just throw him out there and have him be overwhelmed, but at the same time, the only way he's going to learn how to play the position is by actually playing against the premier point guards in the league in key stretches of the game, and he's not going to learn sitting on the bench. So I agree, he does have to play, and maybe run some pick and rolls for him. That's what his skill set is best for. Have him take more than 6 shots a game. He's going to be expected to do more than 6 shots a game and 4 assists. He's going to be expected to be putting up 20 and 10. And that's what you expect out of a guy you took second overall. And they're not really putting him in a position to be able to do that in the near future. So it's definitely a head scratcher.
Absolutely. And wouldn't you say that, especially if they knew that Kobe was going to be out, wouldn't this be a game where you go up to D'Angelo and the coaches and the players and say, hey, you know what, this is going to be a game we're going to try, we're going to give D'Angelo a lot of pick and rolls because there's going to be a lot more opportunities for him with Kobe out of the game. We're going to do a lot of high screen and rolls. We're going to get some movement off that. We're going to see what happens. And going back to your point, it was a good one that, it is he is 19 years old, and throwing him in there and I said 30 minutes a game over the course of an 82-game season might be a lot. But, if you want to give him a day off on a back-to-back, go ahead and do it. But he needs to be learning what it's going to be like playing 30-plus minutes a game in an NBA setting.
And here's my issue with the whole thing. If you're going to say, I'm going to sit him during crunch time because he doesn't know how to win a game yet, I'm going to try and chase this win with Lou Williams, that's fine. But then don't also sit him down the stretch of a game that's a 16-point blowout. You can't have it both ways. And then when he is in there, you have to use him. I thought that this was a really good stat that Trevor Lane, formerly of Silver Screen and Roll, now at Lakers Nation, had this morning, where Russell in usage rate compared to his fellow rookies is he's basically 10% below Moutier. Moutier's at 28.2% usage rate, Okafor 27.5, Towns 25. Porzingis, who everybody thought was the prospect that was super raw, should never be touching the ball when he comes into the game for his rookie year, 23.6, and Russell has been 18.8. So even when he's in the game for his limited minutes, like I said, he only played 21 minutes tonight. He's not really getting a chance to go out there and do his thing.
I really wish we still had Mike D'Antoni. I know I say it a lot, but it would just be so fun with Russell and Clarkson and Randall. And we would be getting all these things that we're asking about and complaining about. But
I hate to be like the supporter of Byron Scott here when it comes to the usage rate stat, but that stat might be a little misleading just because of the personnel that Russell tends to share the floor with.
Yeah.
If there was a way to find out how much time he spends without, Lou Williams or Kobe Bryant on the floor, then you could probably get a better reading of how many plays he runs or what his usage rate is, because when you have a guy like Kobe on the floor, he's going to demand most of the shots, so it's not like Russell really has a fair shot at the ball. I'm not saying that his usage rate shouldn't be higher. It absolutely should be, but that set's a little misleading just in the fact that you have shot-happy guys like Lou Williams and Nick Young running with him on a second unit, and then you have Kobe taking all the shots on the starting unit. So he doesn't really have, I guess, a fair share of the ball that Moutier or Towns or Okafor would have.
Very true. I don't think we were saying, like, hey, Byron, you idiot, he's not getting enough shots by just looking at usage rate. But, it's just saying, hey, he's getting this minutes a game, and he's not even getting this much involved when he is on the floor compared to the other rookies. It's just saying, hey, this is an issue that needs to be addressed over the course of the season.
Yeah, no, I agree. Some of the possessions have to be redistributed towards him. I think that stuff, you do kind of have to give it a chance to get worked out over the rest of the season.
And you know what? It's something you could do if you want to play them all these minutes, then fine. But hey, if you want to play Russell lower minutes but give him a higher workload, why don't you have the second unit be D'Angelo Russell, a shooter, Anthony Brown, I don't know, Julius Randle and Tarek Black. Have those guys be the core that get in the second unit if you want. You can start them or whatever, but just have those be the main allocation of the minutes. Just run a bunch of high pick and rolls, see what happens, let them run, let them do fast breaks, and their usage rate would be a lot higher. They would get a lot more experience, and I don't know.
that would be a fine lineup. We did, however, jinx things. We made the mistake of saying, let's give Byron Scott a chance. He needs a little bit more time to start to work this out over the course of the season. He just said in his post-game availability right now, he didn't really consider bringing back D'Angelo Russell at the end of the game. Miami had too big of a lead.
What?
A reporter needs to ask him what the right lead for D'Angelo
when can he get into the game? Is it only when the Lakers are up by 40? Because it's not going to happen.
Well, then they're up by too much, and you don't want to risk injury.
Arg.
He's keeping him on the bench to keep him safe, guys. Okay.
He makes me mad. Coaches don't usually make me like. I'll get frustrated with coaches. I don't get this mad over just sheer stupid decisions.
I am happy you managed to not curse, though. So
I'm
we
working
have
on it.
Somewhat breaking-ish news on the podcast. Originally, the Lakers. Yeah, we'll play the breaking news music. Drew, you got to add that in post-show if you can. Kobe is initially the Lakers said that they were sitting Kobe out just for rest, but Kobe was telling reporters after the game that he sat out for a back injury tonight. He'll go through treatment soon, but that I had trouble walking, but he thinks it will be fine. So that
won't be fine.
That's not great. Byron Scott said as of now, Kobe Bryant won't play Wednesday at Orlando. So
is being able to walk important to play basketball?
I mean, not if you're Paul Pierce and you can just scoop that wheelchair out. But
yeah.
This season is it's off to a banner start, I gotta say. I normally try to end things on a light note. I don't know that I have anything. Do either of you guys have a positive takeaway from tonight?
I like Larry Nance's jumper is better than I expected, and I think that was more just that I hadn't, seen enough tape on him at Wyoming, because apparently he did have a pretty good jumper at Wyoming. But I might be softening on that pick a bit, especially if he has a decent jumper coupled with that athleticism. There's a decent amount of upside there.
Chinmay,
I'll say that, as was also the case in the New York Knicks game, Julius Randle, outside of having a poor shooting night, still continued to impact the game. And that's what you want to see out of any player. Like, even if one aspect of their game is off, they're not completely giving up on the night. And I think that was a good thing to see from Julius Randle, that even though he wasn't getting his shot to go down, he was still getting rebounds, he was still moving the ball well, still getting back on defense, even though that didn't matter too much. But it's nice to see a player, when their shot isn't going down, when they're not scoring, they're still affecting the game.
And we haven't really talked about it, but Nick Young did look – I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but Nick Young did look really good today, and he's done some nice things over the course of the season so far.
He's looked pretty good pretty good for the whole season, mounting that 6th Man of the Year campaign.
Yeah.
On a 20-win team.
20. They're 1-6 right now. What does that project out to? Not very good, is what my math says.
Yeah. They're going to finish with a record of not very good and not very good. So I think that about wraps on those sunshine and rainbows. That about wraps things up for us on Lakers Late Night. Chinmay, Tom, thank you guys for coming on, and we will see you guys after the game tomorrow.
11.7. That's how many wins they're projected for.
Oh boy, no, they'll get more than that. That's
too many
East teams. Too many East teams. They're going to sneak up on some East teams.
I'm just telling you what the math says.
11 is kind of ridiculous.
Numbers never lie, Chinmay.
Numbers can sometimes lie.
Never.
You heard it here first. The Lakers are getting exactly 11.7 wins this season.
Yes.
This has been Harrison
Not
Fagan.
a decimal lower or higher.
Yes, exactly 11.7. This has been Harrison Fagan. I was joined by Chinmay Vaidya and Tom Fear. Thank you guys for joining me, and this has been Lakers Late Night.